Hey horror fans, yes, it's me, the Horror Miser Monty G. Yes, time to do another video review. This time we're going to review the Netflix latest adaptation of Bram Stoker's greatest novel, Dracula. Now, Dracula is a 2020 Netflix horror series. It was created by Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat. Yeah, the guy that did Doctor Who. This is obviously based on the novel by Bram Stoker, and it stars Class Bang and Dolly Wells. Now, this is the latest version of the great novel by Bram Stoker. Now, I actually saw the trailer of Dracula a couple weeks ago, and I said, this actually seems pretty interesting. Of course, everybody knows that vampires are my favorite supernatural creature. I've loved mostly all of the adaptations I've seen of Dracula, from Bela Lugosi's Universal Monsters to the late great Christopher Lee and the Hammer Dracula horror series. You have Frank Langella, he did Dracula. Jack Palance, he did Dracula. Louis Jordan. And of course, Gary Oldman, he was the latest person to portray the great Count Dracula. And now we have this one. So let's see what I have to say about Dracula. Now, the series tells a story about the blood-drinking Count Dracula. He prepares to sail to Victorian London in search of new victims for him to pillage and massacre. That's basically what this show is about. Now, once again, we're giving another adaptation of the 1897 novel written by Bram Stoker. This time it's Stephen Moffat, who was a showrunner for Doctor Who and Sherlock, and for the BBC, the British Broadcasting Company. Now, along with Matt Gatiss, they have created their own spin on Dracula. Now, airing on Netflix, this was a 3-episode series that tells how Dracula plans his journey into Victorian England, his encounters with Jonathan Harker and Agatha Van Helsing, and along with some other twists and turns in this show. Now, while the series starts off with some promise, by the time we get to the final episodes, the series takes a 360-degree turn and simply lands with a huge dud. Boom! Now, which is sad because I actually like Class Bang, and I think he's brilliant as the Count, and so is Dolly Wells. I think they have great chemistry together. I like his interpretation of how he portrays the great Dracula. He doesn't try to copy what Bela Lugosi did or what Christopher Lee did, but their talent is wasted with plot holes and a very incoherent script. I mean, especially in the 3rd episode, I don't think if Moffat had any idea what he wanted to do by the time we got to the 3rd episode. Now, as I stated earlier, the series gets off of a bang with the 1st episode as we have Jonathan Harker. He looks like he's deaf. I mean, he's old, he's withered. He's in this convent. He's talking to a very non-conventional nun who we learned is Sister Abigail Van Helsing. Told in flashbacks, we learn how Jonathan arrives at Castle Dracula, where he becomes Dracula's prisoner. Now, I actually like how it begins. We have Dracula. He's old. He's withered. Sort of like similar to what they did with Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula. I think Francis Ford Coppola, his version of Dracula, and how Gary Oldman looked old as the Count. Now, in this adaptation, when Dracula starts to feed on Jonathan, he becomes a young and virile man. We get some nice shots of the castle, and the cinematography does a great job of making it look elegant and gothic. I like some of the scenes, how the castle looks gray, but still bright with the lights, and you still have that gothic feel that we see in the Hammer production regarding Dracula. So I did like that interpretation of how the series began with Dracula. Now, midway through the 1st episode, when Dracula finally reveals himself to Harker, he drops his rules and finally admits who he really is. I thought it was fascinating. He calls Jonathan Johnny Boy. Seems like Dracula is trying to do some experiments in part of the castle when he meets one of Dracula's brides. I thought that was a little bit of a twist that we never seen in any of the other versions of Dracula. Now, as I stated before, Class does not try to copy Bela Lugosi or Christopher Lee version of the Count. He simply puts his own spin, and I thought it was pretty good. I actually enjoyed his interpretation of Count Dracula. Later on in the episode, when Dracula goes to the convent That's where he meets Agatha, and I thought his interaction with Agatha was great. They do have great chemistry together. We also have some pretty good special effects or practical effects in the first episode as well. There's some definitely weird, or I guess you say a different way how Dracula transforms from his wolf into his man form. And again, we have some good interaction between Agatha Van Helsing and Dracula. And again, I don't mind the gender swap here. I thought Dolly did a good interpretation of this Agatha Van Helsing. I didn't mind the gender swap. I'm pretty sure a lot of people probably didn't like it. But come on, if it's the 21st century, this is what we do now. Now, that chemistry between Bang and Wells works pretty good in the second episode as we see Dracula's journey aboard the ship, the Denemer. I think I pronounced that right. Now, this is where Moffat makes some changes from the novel, as we have a bunch of characters here. It's a nice setting, and I believe it was supposed to create some suspense and tension, but unfortunately, none of that really happens. Dracula kills people on the ship one by one, but we don't feel anything, since we really don't care anything about him. Now, I did like Peter and Oligrer, I think that's what his name is, as they seem to be the only one who gets any type of character development. The others are just there simply for Dracula to kill and suck their blood. I mean, there was a gay couple that was on the ship where this guy was pretending to be married to this woman only because she had money, but he really was this guy's lover. They were gay. There's some nods to believe that Dracula might be bisexual because he's flirting with the dude throughout the time. He eventually kills him anyway. Then we get the part where we find out that there's a secret in one of the rooms on the ship, and that turns out to be Abigail. She's still alive, and you know, it sort of just bogs down to a bunch of nonsense by the time we get to the third act in the second episode. And I wouldn't even say what happens by the time the ship sinks into the ocean. And something very crazy happens, and you'll see it if you saw this episode, the end of this episode too, which leads into episode 3. You know what I'm talking about. And now we get to episode 3, and this is where the series starts its nosedive, especially during the final act of episode 2. Now, after surviving the destruction of the Denemer, Dracula breaks out of his coffin. He walks into the sea and into the beach, only to discover that 123 years have passed. What the hell? Dracula's in modern times. He's in the 21st century. Oh my God. Now, keep in mind, I don't have a problem with putting characters such as Dracula in a modern setting, but the story has to make sense. And by the time that we get that Dracula realizes he's in modern times and how they show it, it's a total disaster. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Now here, Bang is just chewing up the scenes here, and this time he has to contend with Sister Agatha's descendant, Dr. Zoe Van Helsing, who is also played by Dolly Wells. Now, it's kind of interesting here. She's part of this organization called the Jonathan Harker's Foundation. It was funded by his wife, Mina. Now, here's one of the problems I have with the show. They play footloose with some of the major characters in Bram Stoker's novel. Mina barely has anything to do in this series at all. She's there at the beginning of, I say, episode 1. She's only in a few scenes. And by the time she's there, and by the time we get to, I would say, to the concluding part of episode 1, we no longer see her anymore. She's gone. And I thought that was a wasted way to use a very popular character in this show. I don't know what Moffat and his writing crew were thinking, but she was just a wasted character here. And then we have this foundation named after Jonathan that she funded. Now, supposedly they're supposed to capture Dracula and do something with him, but whatever that something is, we'll never know. The show doesn't do anything to explain anything more about what they're supposed to do and how Dr. Zoe Van Helsing came to be in this foundation. Now, we also get other characters from the novel, such as Quincy and Dr. Jack Stewart, but they really play no significant role in this story or in this series. And then there's Lucy Westenra, a carefree millennial who becomes Dracula's next obsession. Now, we really don't get any leeway into her character as well, or we don't know why she finds Dracula so fascinating, or why Dracula finds her fascinating. And we find out later on why he's fascinated by her. She lets Dracula seduce him or seduce her. Maybe she's got some death wish or something like that, or she's so carefree. But unfortunately, there's no character build up for us to do anything, for us to understand her character, other than the fact that she's crazy. She basically sleeps with any dude that pays her any attention. Now, maybe she's, we don't know. That's the problem. Also, we finally get to see Renfield. Remember him from the novel? Yes, he's a lawyer that Dracula Skyped. What? Dracula Skyped? Wait a minute. This guy is an 18th century warlord who's been alive for 500 years. He's been in his coffin for 123 years, and all of a sudden he knows how to handle modern technology? What the hell's going on here? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, first of all, there's a scene when he gets to the beach, and all of a sudden he knows how to use a camera. And I'm talking about a camera, the video camera. He's actually taking selfies with one of the military guys. Like he knows how to take a selfie. None of that makes any sense. Now, by the time we get to the third act, there's some secret regarding Dracula and his weaknesses. You know, sunlight crosses holy water. You know, if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. I won't reveal what that is because it's so stupid and it doesn't make any sense. And I won't even talk about how the show ends exactly because it was a complete dud. And that didn't make any sense story-wise. I mean, come on now. Just the wasted talent from this character, Dr. Zoe Van Helsing. What her purposes are, why did she join this foundation. You know, we find out that she has cancer. That's why when Dracula bites her, he spits out her blood. We find out that she has cancer. But then she does some stupid stuff, and it doesn't make any sense. Nothing makes sense, especially in this third series. Now, I don't know what Moffat was trying to accomplish with the third episode, but the events that happened here simply came out of nowhere. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Some of the things that happened made sense, while others, especially with Lucy, put a damper during the episode. Now, again, I have no problem putting characters such as Dracula in modern times, but the story has to make sense. I mean, we've seen Dracula in modern times, just like with Dracula 2000. That actually made better sense than what Moffat does here by putting Dracula in modern times. Now, from what I've understand, some people have complained about Moffat and how he's ruined characters in shows such as Sherlock when he sticks them into modern times. Just like with this show, that trend continues here with Dracula. Not even Clarence and Dolly can save this episode due to the terrible script Moffat has given him. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's just there. And I don't even want to talk about Lisa and how she meets her fate in the concluding part of the episode. I mean, there are other characters that's not even there. I mean, you have Renfield. He's totally wasted in here. I mean, what in the world were they thinking? Now, overall, this started out pretty good. I mean, we had excellent performance from Bang. Wells is pretty good as both Agatha and Zoe Van Helsing. And some pretty good practical effects, a nice gothic setting in Dracula's castle and the convent where Jonathan Harker tells a story. And we also have the Deadmere. Unfortunately, the series stumbles at the end of the second episode and completely falls apart in the third one. Now, I've seen some bad interpretations of Bram Stoker's Dracula, but this is by far one of the worst ones I've seen. I mean, I'd rather watch Dracula 3000 to see this other disaster. And again, I don't understand what Moffat was trying to accomplish here. I don't know what purpose he made or why he thought that this was a different way to tell Dracula. Like I said, I don't mind when people try to put different spins on, especially on such an iconic character such as Dracula, to put some new life and some new blood into it. But it has to make sense. And unfortunately here, Moffat just went off the rails. And nothing made sense in that third act. It's total disaster. It ruined what could have been a pretty good series. So there you have it. That's my review of Netflix's Dracula. If I were to rank this, which I normally don't do for TV shows, but if I were to rank it, I probably would just give probably maybe 1.5 out of my 5 bloody gold coins. But yeah, I could recommend people, if you're a Dracula fan, if you're a vampire fan, you will be highly disappointed in this Netflix version of the great Bram Stoker novel. So that's my video for today, guys. If you do like this video, please hit a like and share. If you have any comments about Dracula 2020 on Netflix, leave your comments in the comment section below. Did you enjoy it? Did you actually thought it was pretty good? Or you really like me and really did not like this particular version, especially that 3rd episode? Leave your comments down in the comment section below. Also, if you're new here, you know what you have to do. Yes, hit that subscriber button and ring that notification bell. That way you'll be notified anytime when I put up new material or new videos. Also, all my social media links will be down in the description box below as well. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as Horror Miser Monty G. And always remember, horror rules. I'll see you in my next video. I'm out.
No fair. No fair, no fair.